Well, hello, everyone. I'm excited to be here. My name is Brian Lewis. I'm Executive Director of Ecoworks Detroit. And I have with me Calandra Jones, who is our EcoD Program Coordinator. And we are really, really excited to be here to talk a little bit about Ecoworks and talk about the impact that we want to make in our community. And so Ecoworks is an organization in the city of Detroit that has a 40-year history building climate and energy solutions in partnership with Detroiters while centering in on equity and justice throughout the process. And so we have programs that work with cities and local municipalities to create climate plans and help benchmark energy use. We have programs that help to teach local residents about how to weatherize their homes and save energy and also save money in the process. And then we also have programs that help to grow the next generation of green leaders in classrooms all across the city of Detroit. And we're taking all of that experience, all of that intuition, and a little bit of that community development to try to figure out how we can anchor community, resilience, and equity through Rogel Park. And you might be asking, what is Rogel Park? Well, Rogel Park is actually a former golf course in the city of Detroit that is actually in our community. So you'll see on this map, Ecoworks sits right across the street from Rogel Golf Course. And we're excited to make an impact on our community. You'll also see Greater Grace Temple, and they're highlighted for a really good reason. One, because I actually grew up in that church, and I'm really proud to be a member. But also two, Greater Grace Temple is the former owner of Rogel Golf Course. And so they bought that golf course over 20 years ago at this point as a part of their grandiose vision for what they called the City of David. And the City of David was this, again, grandiose vision for how to develop not just the church's mission, but the community and the local community in the process. And so not only did they buy the golf course, but they bought a school in the area, they bought a community center, they helped with local senior centers and those types of things. And so this was a big initiative. And as any big initiative, there's a lot of effort that needs to go into it. So you're seeing a picture right here of Rogel Golf Course. And for a time, it was a golf course. They had events there. There were golf tournaments and pretty widely publicized golf tournaments. And things were pretty good. And that was for a time. But over time, as membership at the church started to decline, the church started to run into financial insecurities, and that led to a decline in actually maintaining the park. Their blight started to increase, overgrowth started to happen, and the community started to take notice. Because this isn't just a golf course to the community, it's their backyard. And you'll see kind of what we're talking about here. And so those tensions started to form and develop to the point where the community actually self-organized. They got a legal team together, they started to take some legal action, and they also started to protest. And this is right across the street from Ecoworks Detroit. And so again, the community started to form tensions with the church to the point where those tensions actually broke, and the church sold the property back to the city of Detroit. And the city of Detroit now owns the property and is taking a new direction for how to use it. And so I'm actually going to turn it over to Calandra, who's going to talk about that next direction.
Right, so the vision that the church had to integrate the golf course into the City of David was an example of what happens when community voices are not at the center of development. Now, when the city stepped in, they decided to make the golf course into a public space that would start to solve some of the problems the community was experiencing. Flooding would be mitigated with green stormwater infrastructure, and the overall lack of green space in the area would be mitigated by the new use of the park. This is actually part of the city's bigger vision for the entire area, which includes greenways, connections to garden trails, art collection installations, and millions of dollars coming into the neighborhood with Rogel Park sitting at the center. So since this is our own community, we decided to start to ask ourselves, with all the money coming in, with all of the impacts of climate change, including flooding, affecting residents, with the effects of COVID-19 resulting in disconnection among community, how do you bring this investment to the community equitably and with sustainability at the center? What we're proposing to do through this challenge is leveraging our position in the community as a member to start to organize all of the neighborhoods that are around the park anchoring them through the park in education and community to come together as one collective voice to not only be integrated into how the development happens, but to really have a say in what the impacts are going to be. We are proposing to do this through one of our programs called EcoD. We already run 4 EcoD neighborhoods in the city, and those neighborhoods are based on sustainability, where we bring together our expertise and residents to collectively vision with local stakeholders, not just residents, but churches, schools, including the city of Detroit, who's a long-term partner, to come together to collectively vision what sustainability looks like in the area. We use this model in order to achieve that by bringing community together, helping them to discover each other's dreams, each other's wishes for their communities, helping them to prioritize, and then learning together with Ecoworks, we make the language of climate change and sustainability accessible for residents, which then culminates in plans for projects where we help them work together, tell their story of the success, so that ultimately this model can be scaled up throughout the city.
And speaking of the model, this is a model that we've used so many times throughout Ecoworks' work, not just with communities, but especially work with young people. Ecoworks' Youth Energy Squad takes this process and implements it within a school-based context. And we've engaged over 10,000 students in this very same community inquiry process. And so we're really proud about taking that now to the next level and working with an entire community to do the same. In addition, I think what's really important is that we keep equity first. I'm proud to represent Ecoworks as Ecoworks' first Black executive director and first executive director from this community and from this city. And I'm proud to take that into the next step to be able to work with not just my organization, but our community to see how we can keep nature-based solutions at the forefront, keep equity at the forefront, and engage the wider community in taking Detroit to that next step level of sustainability. And so we're really excited about that project, and we look forward to your questions. Thank you so much.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Ecoworks. What an exciting project. Evaluators, jump on in.
Oh, sorry, Benita, did you have a question? Okay, I can go. Firstly, thanks so much. I've long been frustrated by golf courses taking up so much space in our communities and only serving such a small number of people. So conversion of a golf course makes a ton of sense. And I've seen a couple of other cities do it. So it's great to see what you're doing. I guess I'm curious, you mentioned the city is a partner, and the city, it sounds like, is the owner of the golf course. I guess I'm just curious kind of like how your efforts tie into the city, and kind of how you'll be working with the city in the implementation of kind of the outcome of the work that you do.
Right. So through our program, the strategic community initiatives, we've actually worked with the city not only on their sustainability agenda, which has recently come out, but other initiatives and programs. We serve as a consultant. In this particular project, there's a clubhouse that's situated right in the middle of the golf course, and the city is partnering with us to design the programming for that, but also how the space is going to be used. So considering the nature trails and habitat restoration, and again, mentioning that often the language of sustainability and environmental issues in general is not often accessible to people in Detroit, we would be working with them to develop programming that meets the community where their knowledge level is at and helps really integrate them into the programming that's happening at the park, but also the programming that would be happening through the entire eco district.
And one thing I might add, in our conversation with the city on this particular project, obviously we've gotten letters of support and those types of things. But one thing that they've indicated was they're in need of resources, i.e. money, to be able to actually make the level of impact on this property that they want to make. I think by using this as a conduit to bring community together, but also showcase a powerful example of how community can make an impact on a space, we intend to also bring additional resources into that space. And so that's kind of our partnership with the city, is being a resource partner to be able to leverage additional resources to be able to impact that space.
Okay, thanks a lot.
Yeah, I have a question. I think that like Saro, I love the fact that you are doing something different with a golf course, because I think there is no moral or ethical justification for cities to have golf courses if a city has deficit of housing or deficit of parks. So I think this is so instead of 200 people playing max, you got thousands of people using it. My question was regarding the older adults, and actually it's not almost you, but almost every presentation do not have are not sharing any ideas of what are you doing with older people. Are the older people engaged in any way? The older people is a full third of our lives. A full third of our lives. And it's people that want to give back, it's people that want to have a purpose. So they could be magnificent allies and volunteers and collaborators, but I don't see any role of older people in this project and in reality in the previous ones either.
Right, so that is something that we actually did consider. So Greater Grace Temple, who used to own the golf course, also has a senior housing facility located on their property. And in engaging the church, we would also be engaging those residents of that housing to help them use the park safely, but also to educate them in the same way that we plan to educate adults, renters, and youth in the area on how sustainability happens, why it's important, and how it can make their lives better too.
And in addition, just very quickly, many of the block clubs that we've already worked with are, whether fortunately or unfortunately, comprised of mostly older residents in the communities. And so we would also leverage them to reach out to their peers and to connect with some of the older senior houses in those types of communities as well.
Okay, yeah, also because they're very independent and they must live healthier and happier as well. So they can be fantastic allies to your project.
Just had a quick question. So thank you so much for this presentation. And my grandmother actually used to live in the senior housing right next to the church. I guess you're just kind of, again, getting ready to start this process, which is what I think, kind of getting feedback from the community and the different neighborhood groups. And I'm just wondering, are there any other issues that you can think will come up as, again, it's addressing stormwater. Are there other issues that you're thinking that will come up in this process that you've heard from either groups, the community, or the church that this could kind of multi-solve for with this process that you're going to engage in?
Yeah, absolutely. So one of the big things that I'm really excited to bring through this is that our EcoD program has done a lot for the 4 communities that we already have, but one of the big issues in Detroit right now is utility unaffordability. And as we teach about sustainability, we also teach it from the lens of what you can do to use sustainability to make your own lives better, but also in the lens that you can lower your utility bills. So we've already worked through the EcoD program, 57,000 residents and saved them $49 million collectively on just energy and water bills alone. So that's in making the language of climate change and sustainability accessible. Affordability comes up a ton. And the houses in these neighborhoods are older, so they're always in need of repairs, appliance replacements, and we have partnerships with DTE that help address those more immediate needs. So that way we're not sidelining, survival needs as we talk about sustainability, but rather integrating them together. And things like roofs and housing stock, community gardens, and neighborhood beautification often are some of the most common issues that come up. So we've already integrated that into our programming to bring those resources more immediately. And we're definitely excited to do that with this larger EcoD district.
Thank you.
Great. Are there further questions from the evaluation panel? Anything else the Rogel Park team would like to add?
I think yes. So this work is really important to us. And since we're in the community already, while we're excited for the opportunity to get resources from Thriving Cities, we're so committed to this project that we're going to find a way to do it, either way. This community has watched this golf course in the good times and the bad. And since we're an anchoring organization in it, we're excited to do the work no matter what form it takes. So this is definitely an exciting opportunity, but this is also a very important project to us.
Yes, and to build off of that point, not only will we continue to do this project, even with or without the support of the Thriving Cities Challenge, although we certainly welcome the support, we've already been doing this project and we've been building relationships. We have relationships at the church. We have relationships with various communities in the area, especially the Berg-Lasher community, which sits right in our specific area. And we have already started partnerships with the city and as well with the business community in the area. So we're really excited to continue that and hopefully with the support of the Thriving Cities Challenge, take that to a level at which it becomes very, very impactful. And we really appreciate that opportunity.
And I'll just add on, just last thing is that the part of the reason I didn't have any questions is because I actually thought the proposal was very well written and it's very clear that you have a thoughtful process around this. So I really appreciate your time.
So I'd like to complement the question on this. I think that it's very, very important to do lots and lots and lots of activities, even while you do the infrastructure, so that this becomes irreversible, so that it will never happen again. So my question is, what kind of activities are you doing with the community ongoing, not only events, but programs, so that the community really develops a sense of ownership, a sense of belonging to the place?
Well, I'll take a stab at that. I think that one way that our project really gets at that is you can't really have ownership without having a say in the process. And what this project is essentially doing is creating a platform for everyone to be able to have a say. And by having a say, you build that level of ownership. We've experienced projects in the past in days where we were maybe a little bit less aware of community dynamics, where we've put something into a community, and because we did it and not them, something happened where it was vandalized or whether it wasn't used properly. And so we started to learn from that and recognize that we have to do with community and not for community. And this is a project that takes that impetus and ramps it up to the next level.